Muthuswami Dikshitar's compositions are an eclectic mix of Sangeeta, Sahitya and Vedanta. During his lifetime, he travelled extensively, visiting several Kshetras. He has described many salient aspects of these Kshetras in his compositions. One such Kshetra that he visited is Tirukkannamangai.
Tirukkannamangai is situated around 10 kilometers from the temple town of Tiruvarur. Sanctified by the hymns of Thirumangai Alvar, who visited the town around 8th-9th century, the temple was first constructed in stone under the imperial Cholas. Later, it was expanded by the Nayak rulers of Tanjavur, followed by the Marathas. The deity here is Bhaktavatsala Perumal along with his consort Abhishekawali Tayar.
The Dikshitar Kriti on Tirukkannamangai Kshetra is Bhaktavatasalam Abhishekawali Yuktam, set to Vamshavati Raga and Aditala.
Bhaktavatasalam Abhishekawali Yuktam Bhajeham Nityam. 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 Bhaktavatasalam Abhishekawali Yuktam Bhajeham Nityam.
Sriman Narayana is fondly referred to by his devotees as Samasta Kalyana Gunanidhi, the one who is the corpus of all positive traits. Of the several Kalyana Gunas, his Vatsalyam or compassion towards his devotees ranks first. Bhaktavatsala, as he is referred to, the one who is the most compassionate towards his bhaktas. That's the name of the presiding deity of this beautiful temple town called Tirukkannamangai, very near to Tiruvarur. Here, this Kshetram is in the Puranas called as Krishnamangalakshetram, and it is one amongst the 5 Krishnaranya-kshetrams, where Krishna resides. Here, he takes the name of Bhaktavatsala, accompanied by his consort Abhishekawali, the most beautiful bride. Here, Mahalakshmi was coronated and she was identified as the Pattamahishi of Mahavishnu. Hence, the Pattabhishekam of Lakshmi happened here. So, the name Abhishekawali. Muthuswami Dikshitar, a long-term resident of Tiruvarur, has visited this shrine, which is in close proximity, has come here, soaked in the beauty of this town, understood the religious and the spiritual significance of this temple, studied it and had composed a beautiful composition wherein he describes the Kshetra, the Tirtham, the Murti and whatnot. Several Puranic episodes associated with the temples all finds a reference. In this composition, Dikshitar says that I worship, I pray to Bhaktavatsala along with Sri Abhishekawali every day.
So this composition is set to the raga Vamshavati and Aditala. Vamshavati happens to be the 54th Raganga Raga, which is the 6th Raga in the 9th Chakra. Dikshitar, as we know, has composed in nearly each of the 72 Raganga Ragas. These are different from the 72 Melakartas. They are also 72 in number, but they are Raganga Ragas, which are defined in the Chaturudandi, in the Anubandham of Chaturudandi, and then later on by Subramanya Dikshitar. This Raga, especially Vamshavati, has Shuddha Rishabha, Antaragandhara, Pratimadhyama, Shatshruti Daivata and Kakali Nishada Swarams. I'll just sing the Kramam. Sa ri ga ma pa dha ni sa. This is the Kramam. But we in the Dikshita school, when you sing the Shatshruti Daivata, you sing it with a Vakram. Sa ri ga ma pa ni da ni sa with the Vakra phrase. Sa ni pa ma ga ri sa. So it is Sampurna in the Arohana and Shadava without the Daivata in the Avarohana. There are two compositions of Dikshitas in this raga, at least as found in the Pradarshini. One is Vamshavati Shiva Yuvati and the other being Bhaktavatsala Abhishekawali Yuktam Narita. Chita pratyacham pakashasaradi suradhyaksham bhakti matam chita pratyacham pakashasaradi suradhyaksham Bhukti Mukti Pradayakadaksham Bhusuratyakila Jana Samraksham Bhaktavatssalam Bhakti Matam Chita Pratyacham Pakashasaradi Suradhyaksham Bhukti Mukti Pradayakadaksham Bhusuradhyakila Jana Samraksham Bhaktavatsala Abhishekawali Yuktam Bhajeham Nityam.
After having referred to Sriman Narayana as Bhaktavatsala in the Pallavi, Dikshita goes on to list out the people who've been beneficiaries of the compassion of Bhaktavatsala Perumal of Tirukkannamangai. 4 different categories of devotees who are blessed with what they want. Bhaktimatam, Chitta Pratyaksham, people who meditate upon him, the ones who invoke his presence from within, people who attain a level of conscience, get a vision of Bhaktavatsala in their chitta from within. That's the first category. The second category are the celestials starting from Indra. As he says, from Bhagasasana. That's a very popular name given to Indra in many of Dikshita's composition. So he slain a demon, an asura called Bhaga, and hence Indra is called as Bhagasasana. Starting from Indra, Agni, Yama, Niruti, Surya, Chandra, the Grahas, all of these devatas, the celestials, are all blessed by Bhaktavatsala Perumal. The third is the category of devotees who approach him for bhoga and moksha. A very comfortable life when you're here and attain salvation at the end. To come out of this vicious circle of life and death and to rest in his lotus feet there at Vaikunta, the kind of people who come and pray to him are the ones who request both bhoga and moksha from him. And in order to ensure that there is no one left out in this list of beneficiaries, Dikshita uses this beautiful term where he says, Bhaktavatsala is common to all his creations. His vatsalyam, his compassion is common to all of them. That's a very beautiful way of describing the list of devotees and the beneficiaries as such who can achieve the compassion of Bhaktavatsala.
Interestingly, in the Anupallavi, we also have the first occurrence of the Vivadiswara, the Shatshruti Daivata. In the line, Pakashasanadi Suradhyaksham Nidhanisa. That is the first occurrence of the Shatshruti Daivata in this composition, and that is in the Anupallavi. And also another point, the Pari is a recurring phrase in this raga. So we find that even in the Pallavi and now in the Anupallavi as well, we heard Paka Shasara Pari. You will find that a lot. It comes in the Pallavi as well, and it comes in Anupallavi. It comes in several portions of the Charanam as well. Dashakritim Krishnamangalakshetrapatim Dashakritim Krishnamangalakshetrapatim Lakshmi Vivahotsavam Dashakritim Krishnamangalakshetrapatim Lakshmi Vivahotsavam Vishala Veda Sagara Mantapam Virajasya Mahavibhava Pradam Vishala Veda Sagara Mantapam Virajasya Mahavibhava Pradam Dashakritim.
To continue from the Anupallavi, Muthuswami Dikshita, after having said that Bhaktavatsala Perumal has helped the celestials, the Devatas starting from Indra, he goes on to elaborate those incidences where he was there for the rescue of the Devatas. Not once or twice, but 10 different occasions. 10 different forms that Mahavishnu manifested into, the Dashavataras as they are popularly called, starting from Matsya, Kurma, Varaha. So the Charanam, he just calls out Mahavishnu as this one person who manifested into 10 different forms, Dashakritim. And very interestingly, probably there is this little architectural influence which inspired Dikshita to coin this term in the Charanam. The Sanctum Sanctorum of Bhaktavatsala Perumal, the outside wall, has 11th, 12th century miniature panels which beautifully portrays all the 10 avatars starting from Matsya. And so all the incidences associated with them, it's all portrayed in what is technically called as a miniature panel. It's just 3 or 4 inches tall and 6 inches wide, and there you have the complete episode of Varaha, Vamana, Trivikrama, and all the avatars, one after the other, very beautifully portrayed. And you also have tall images, proper images of some of these avatars accommodated in the niches of the external wall. Probably Dikshita's eye for detail, that has taken a note of this and used it he's judiciously used it in fact, as a very beautiful phrase to start the Charanam, Dashakritim. Then he goes on to say, it's that Mahavishnu who manifested into these 10 forms. Out of his mercy for the celestials, he took the 10 different forms. To bless us here on this earth, he came down to what is called as the Krishnamangalakshetram, which is Tirukkannamangai. Mangai there stands for something that is auspicious. So Tirukkannamangai literally gets translated into Krishnamangalakshetram. So he's come here and he resides here as the leader, as the Pati of Krishnamangalakshetram. The most important event in the Purana list here is about how Mahalakshmi came down here. She performed a penance to get married to Vishnu, and she was in fact coronated as the Pattamahishi, as the empress of this town, and got married to Mahavishnu in a grand wedding in fact. So Dikshita, again, he also has this habit of documenting the festivities of the temples that he visits. He makes a very clear mention about the elaborate wedding celebration, the festival, Vivaha Utsavam, that is conducted here. And according to the Puranas, this Vivaham took place in the Mandapa in front of the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is called as the Veda Sagara Mandapam. That's basically where the Vedas reside to worship Bhaktavatsala every day. And this Mandapam is a grand one, and Dikshita calls it as the one that which is, it's really big, Vishala Veda Sagara Mandapam, that's how he calls it, and till date it's so. It's very grand and has some beautiful architectural elements in it. And in that mandapam, you see this grand Garuda Vahanam on which Mahavishnu is seated and brought out during festival days. That is what is the last line of the first part of the Charanam, where he says, the one who is blessed Garuda by taking his service. So Dikshita's eye for detail is beautifully reflected in the Charanam in almost every phrase and every line that he has composed.
Vishishtadvaita pratipadyam virupaksha guruguha samvedyam Vishishtadvaita pratipadyam virupaksha guruguha samvedyam vishesha phala pradam vidhi durita nivrittikaram muni jana priyakaram Vishishtadvaita pratipadyam virupaksha guruguha samvedyam vishesha phala pradam vidhi durita nivrittikaram muni jana priyakaram.
In the second half of the Charanam, Muthuswami Dikshita mentions the philosophy based on which the rituals in this temple are all conducted. Visishtadvaita, as it is called, one of those popular Vedantic philosophies, which was popularized by Ramanujacharya with some inspiration from the Alvars and their works. This being one of those 108 Divya Desams, the Vishnu temples in India that have been sanctified by the visits and compositions of the Alvars. This is one in the 40 of the Divya Desams, that which is there in the Cholanadu. So here, Ramanuja's philosophy is what is emphasized upon, and it is very clearly reflected in the daily rituals of the temple. So Dikshita says this Mahavishnu, the deity here, is the one who reflects the concept of Visishtadvaita. He is also being visited by the three-eyed Shiva and Guruguha, Subramanya. He bestows very special benefits on his devotees, Visesha Palapradam. Then, how exactly did this happen? I mean, is there an example in the Puranas where he's come to the rescue and blessed his devotees? Well, the first avatara, Matsya Avatara, has the story of how an asura called Somukan managed to steal the Vedas from Brahma and got them hidden in the deep oceans. So he prays to Mahavishnu, and that is when Narayana takes the form of a fish. The Matsya Avatara goes deep down and retrieves the Vedas, hands them over to Vidhi or Brahma. So it was a very, very quick show that he did and rescued Brahma and the Vedas. That is also elaborated by Dikshita. Probably after having sung the Dashavataras, he just goes on to mention the first Avatara and says, well, it's similar to this, that in 10 different occasions, he manifested into the Avataras. All living beings here on this earth and the ones that above, they're all being blessed by Bhaktavatsala here. So he is that one-stop solution for all your worries for everybody.
In the beginning of the Charanam, we have the Sapa phrase. Dashakritim Sapanipa. And this Sapa, Pasa, these phrases you find a lot in Muthuswami Dikshita's compositions. Apart from that, the Shastry Devata also comes in the Charanam. Virupaksha Guruguha Samvedyam. Again, sa ni dhani sa. Again, you find that. And like I mentioned earlier, the Pariri is again a recurring motif in Vamshavati as per Dikshita. Vishesha Phala Pradam. In the two compositions of Muthuswami Dikshita in this raga, in the first one, we find the raga mudra Vamshavati. In fact, the composition starts with Vamshavati Shivayavati. Whereas in this composition, we do not come across the raga mudra of Vamshavati. Shashanka Guru Talpadosha Hara Darsha Pushkarani Tata पश्चिमभाग सुशोभितोत्पलावतकस्थितं सुरमयमधुमक्षिकाराधितं भक्तवत्सलमभिषेकवल्लीयूतं भजेऽहं शशाङ्कगुरुतल्पदोषहरदर्श पुष्करणीतट पश्चिमभाग सुशोभितोत्पलावतकस्थितं सुरमयमधुमक्षिकाराधितं भक्तवत्सलम् अभिषेकवल्लीयूतं भजेऽहं The Madhyamakala passage also highlights the two key aspects of Vamshavati Raga as envisioned by Muthuswami Dikshita. One, the Shashruti Daivata, which we spoke about in the Pallavi and Anupallavi especially, where it makes an appearance first. And the Pari phrase. Pariri. In fact, the Madhyamakala begins with Shashanka Guru Pariri. Shashanka Guru Talpadosha Haradarsha Pushkarani Tata Paschima Bhaga. So the Pari phrase comes both in the mantra sthai as well as the madhya sthai. Pariri, Pariri, Paschima Bhaga. And then the Shashruti Daivata comes. Sushobhitotpalavadaka Niranisa. Again.
In the Madhyamakala Sahityam of this composition, Muthuswami Dikshita touches upon two architectural elements that which is very exclusive to this temple. One is the tank and the other is the Vimanam inside. The tank, that which is here in Tirukkannamangai, called Dharsha Pushkarani. When Mahavishnu did his Trivikrama Avatara, the holy feet which measured the sky went all the way up to Satyalokam. And there, Brahma had a darshan of it and quickly washed it with the water in his Kamandalam. And it is believed that a few droplets got collected here in this tank at Tirukkannamangai. And Dharsha Pushkarani so has the touch of Sriman Narayana's feet. There is also another traditional account which says about how a dip in the Dharsha Pushkarani and darshan of Bhaktavatsala Perumal was what was prescribed for Chandra to get cured of a curse which he was suffering from. The Vimanam here is called Utpala Vimanam. Utpalam is a lily flower. The shape of the Vimanam, it looks like an inverted lily flower. So in Vishnu temples, the Agamas prescribe the kind of the dimensions, the shape, the volume, the number of tears in a Vimanam, and it is in a way related to the Mula Murti also. The last line of the Sahityam mentions about this very unique aspect of the temple. It's about a beehive that's in the temple. There is a beehive which is very active throughout the year, in fact, in the shrine of Abhishekawali, and it is believed that the Suras, the Devatas, the celestials who came down here to attend the grand wedding of Abhishekawali and Bhaktavatsala Perumal, they were really engrossed with the beauty of this little village here. They wanted to settle down here, so they took the form of honeybees and prayed to Mahavishnu that they live here eternally. So there is this beehive which has been there ever since, from Dikshita's times at least. And the tradition goes that once a year the honey is collected and it is used for the Abhishekam of Perumal and Tayar. The powers of this tank, the miracles that were performed here, how Chandra was cured of the curses, and all of it makes this town very, very special.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating how Muthuswami Dikshita weaves in some of these key phrases into this raga and into this multi-layered composition.
Bhaktavatsala Abhishekawalliyutam bhaje'ham nityam. Bhaktavatsala Abhishekawalliyutam bhaje'ham nityam. Bhaktavatsala Abhishekawalliyutam भक्तवत्सलमभिषेकवल्लीयूतं भजेऽहं नित्यं भक्तवत्सलमभिषेकवल्लीयूतं भजेऽहं